of former Republican Senator Chuck Hagel's nomination as the next Secretary of Defense. Mr. Hagel currently serves as the co-chair of President Obama's Intelligence Advisory Board, but many critics are worried, saying that a number of Hagel's past comments, including those about Iran, Cuba, and Israel, have been completely at odds with U.S. interests. Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen is the chairperson of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. She joins us now. Congresswoman, good to have you with us. And I just listed some of the concerns that you and a number of your colleagues have about the nomination of former Republican Senator Chuck Hagel to be the new Secretary of Defense. For example, do you have concerns, I understand, about statements he's made in the past on Iran, Israel, Cuba, and how he reportedly would like to even cut military spending and perhaps hollow out the force. So what can this nominee do to ease your concerns as well as those of your Republican colleagues?
Well, I think that people should be judged by their past actions. And when I was the chair of Foreign Affairs, I'm now the Middle East subcommittee chair, I've been working on the issue of Iran sanctions for many a year. And I have always found Chuck Hagel to be a person who cannot be relied upon for a positive vote in favor of sanctions. Now, there are only so many tools in our diplomatic toolbox to use against rogue nations, and sanctions is one of the most effective tools that we can use. What is Chuck Hagel's record on Iran sanctions? Well, I'll give you just a few examples. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. 72 senators co-sponsored a bill to designate them as such, including then Senators Obama and Biden and Senator Kerry. Chuck Hagel refused to co-sponsor that bill and actually voted against it on the Senate. Also, when he was a member of the Banking Committee, there was another bill to penalize foreign companies that continue to do business with Iran's energy sector, which is key to their Iran building a nuclear weapon. What is Chuck Hagel's vote in the Banking Committee? Only 2 senators voted against the bill to penalize these foreign companies. Chuck Hagel was one of those votes. Then when it came to the bigger issue of Iran sanctions on the Senate floor, Chuck Hagel was again one of only 2 senators of the entire U.S. Senate to vote against Iran sanctions. This is a man who favors engagement with so many dictators.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if I may, let's also talk about the point of Israel. What has been your concern about Senator Hagel on that issue?
Well, there was a letter that was circulated in the United States Senate. Overwhelmingly, a high number of senators signed the letter expressing something as simple as solidarity with the Democratic Jewish State of Israel, our solid ally. Chuck Hagel refused to sign a letter expressing solidarity with Israel. And what we have seen is that he favors engagement with Syria's al-Assad, with Kim Jong-il when he was alive, also with all of the dictators who seek to harm U.S. interests and our allies. He wants further engagement with them. He doesn't think that we should penalize those dictators, and that harms U.S. national security interests.
I understand, but if I may, let me point out,
nomination.
I understand that. If I may, let me point out something that Mr. Hagel said in himself in a recent interview with the Lincoln Journal-Star, which of course is a newspaper in his home state of Nebraska. Mr. Hagel went on to describe his views as, quote, unequivocal, total support for Israel, and he said the distortions about my record, he said, have been astounding. How do you respond to that, and does that give you some assurance? Because he went on to say that hanging out there in no man's land, unable to respond to charges, falsehood, and distortions. What's your response to that?
Well, that is really such a victimhood kind of response. This man is quite able to respond to this criticism. He can say why he didn't sign a letter expressing solidarity with Israel. That's motherhood and apple pie. Why he's voted against Iran sanctions. He's got, at best, and to be overly generous, a mixed bag when it comes to Iran, when it comes to Israel, North Korea. So he's going to defend himself in the Senate, and the senators will judge him on on his deeds. Perhaps they'll judge him on his words today, but what has been his record thus far, I find it troubling. And out of all the people in the United States of America, that this could be the best choice to be Secretary of Defense. I'm not saying that this gentleman doesn't deserve a fair hearing. Of course he does. But I don't think he's the best candidate to lead our armed forces.
Let me ask you a question then. What qualities and philosophy are you and your colleagues in the GOP, the Senate and the House, looking for in the next Secretary of Defense? Do you think Chuck Hagel meets your criteria? Obviously, at the present time, you do not.
Well, I believe that the president has every right to nominate the people who he believes can carry out his plan. But I worry about the vision that President Obama has for our Department of Defense. If he thinks that Chuck Hagel is the best leader for our armed forces, I think that they're more qualified individuals, folks who really know the difference between dictators and folks who are on our side. Israel is our ally. I think Chuck Hagel has a difficult time understanding that Israel is our ally, and understanding that Iran wants to destroy Israel and wants to destroy the United States. I think a clear vision of our adversaries and our allies is essential for a nominee for the Department of Defense. I don't think Chuck Hagel has that vision. But let's see. It's up to our senators, and I hope that they judge him not on whether he's a great guy and they get along with him in the U.S. Senate, but whether he's the best man to be the Secretary of Defense. I don't believe he is.
Congresswoman Ros-Lehtinen, and we thank you for joining us this afternoon to share your perspective on Chuck Hagel being nominated for Secretary of Defense. Good day to you.